Hey forum, my name is Manny, aka CascadeScents. Welcome to another video. And in case you've never been here before, just know that I'm a longtime fragrance enthusiast on and off YouTube. And if you're also remotely into fragrances, you want to learn a little bit more about them, or you're already really into them, then this might be the channel for you. But I do know for a lot of you out there that this one specifically, this video, is the one that you've been waiting for. Of course, we're talking about my spring top 10 niche fragrances. Spring being my favorite season to wear fragrances specifically. I think there's going to be a little bit of everything here for everyone, so I nonetheless hope you guys enjoy this. So we might as well start counting down now. We've got a lot to get through, so here we go with number 10. This one is called Golden Green by Xerjoff. And what's cool about Golden Green, which is exclusive to the online Xerjoff universe, is that this fragrance is based on coffee, but an unroasted green coffee. So we seldom see that anywhere as far as doing marketing for how cool that is. Here you specifically have notes of cardamom to kind of give it a nice warm kick in your nose, as well as some juniper berries to give a more deep, intense fruitiness that kind of eases its way into the greenness shortly afterwards. A little bit of cypriol as well as vetiver for more of that husky husk kind of vibe, but again, ultimately a greener kind of coffee scent. And I'll be completely honest, I'm not too familiar with harvesting coffee because I feel like a few of us have done it and or know how to tell people about it. So of course, as a result, I don't know how to go about smelling that. I just know that this stuff smells pretty good in my personal opinion. Admittedly, it's not as cozy as maybe a bona fide true kind of coffee scent, but I still like it for the art it is. So shout out to Xerjoff for this one doing something different with coffee for once. This one again is Golden Green, my number 10 spring niche fragrance. Anyway, moving on to my number 9 spring niche scent. This one is by Roja Parfum. It's called Elysium Parfum Cologne. Now this one's kind of notorious recently because we're talking about a niche blue take now. This admittedly is still a strong enough but weaker concentration of the Elysium line, with the Parfum being the stronger one of course, but here in the Parfum Cologne version you still have a nice enough reliance on some of the fresher aspects of this scent. So here you're still getting a noticeable amount of lime as well as bergamot and grapefruit. Smells very good over up at the top, but at the same time I do wish that it was a little bit more intense. I wish it lasted longer. I feel like this stuff gets overwhelmed by some of the deep fruitiness in the base, mainly from that juniper berry again. The juniper berry is always a good way to tie in a nice juiciness that somehow fits, but one that just smells at ease, if not pairs well with more deeper kind of notes. So with those blue vibes that you're looking to emit off of your skin, you're also getting a nice use of cedar and musk, and what also smells like ambroxan overall, which would make sense because again, blue, we're talking about blue scents in general, like Sauvage being an ambroxan bomb per se. That ambery, musky, oceanic vibe kind of just getting compliments since the early 2010s to mid 2010s, circa Prime, Bleu de Chanel, and Sauvage. But as a result, you're not really getting too much with this scent. It kind of just does the job. It's a high level blue fragrance at the end of the day, and since you're not reinventing the wheel, some people have a problem paying that kind of premium for this scent. But at times, I also don't think it's a bad thing to have something high level and basic. There's nothing wrong with just paying into quality rather than just creativity when it comes to niche fragrances. So if this is you too, definitely check it out. Again, it's Elysium Parfum Cologne by Roja Parfum. Anyway, moving on, here we go, my number 8 spring niche fragrance. This one is Bleecker Street by Bond number 9. And for I understand why a lot of people would say that this is their king of spring. It's a very approachable scent, opening up with that cassis, so you got that blackcurrant vibe, often mistaken for blueberry, but it's very juicy here, very uplifting stuff. Pair that with the fresh cut grass accord, mainly with that violet leaf. You're gonna feel like you're at a city park or something like that, or you should be doing something outdoors. I remember one time in the spring, I was actually mowing the lawn while wearing this scent, and I'm like, wow, I don't really mind doing this chore, so it just felt really fitting. Again, it's just one of those scents that you're gonna want to be outside in, so it's a lot of fun. And I say that even hours into the wear because I'm still getting hints of the fruitiness like 4 or 5 hours in, and for me, I don't remotely struggle with the longevity here, which is also a blessing. And as some of that grassy vibes go in favor of more some mossy vibes, some earthy vibes in like an imitation oak moss and or patchouli. I still think that this stuff gets interesting furthermore as it goes on. Now I can also do without the hint of vanilla and caramel that I also get in the base, but I digress. I think the rest of the scent again is just amazing for spring. Now I will say, in case you can actually find it for the low, definitely just snatch it up, just because in case it's not for you, trust me, you're not going to have a hard time getting rid of this and or getting your money back, if not most of it, because I feel like people are always on the hunt for this one, especially during this time of the year. So definitely have your eyes set on the gray market in case you're remotely interested for this one right now. That and that retail price sucks, and I just don't think that the overtly synthetic Bond No. 9 style is worth that kind of money. But hey, that's just me. I might be the minority. I'm pretty sure I'm not. But at the end of the day, that still doesn't take away from the fact that this is still one of those legendary kings of spring when it comes to the fragrance industry and community. So definitely check it out already in some way, shape, or form, even if you don't have an intention of buying this. Get a sample or try it at a meetup once the pandemic subsides. Still worth a test for sure, no matter what. It is Bleecker Street by Bond No. 9. Anyway, moving on to my number 7 spring niche fragrance. This one is by one of my friends in CascadeScents, or his brand rather, in Galeria Parfum, and this one is called By the Yuzu Grove. Now my friend Ashton is obsessed with Japan, so I'm not shocked that he would come out with a Japanese yuzu citrus kind of fragrance, and I think he did it in a way here that spun it in a rather approachable way for the West, although I think yuzu is already super welcoming and juicy enough. So you got that hyper realistic vibe of sipping on something citrusy, a little bit of fresh spiciness for a nice kick in your nose as well, with some of that ginger too. Just very lovely stuff. But you're also getting this deeper oceanic vibe from the olibanum and or frankincense, which is a nice fresh kind of brisker kind of resin. It's not like smoky or anything like that whatsoever. If you like fragrances like Aqua Amara by Bulgari, you'll probably like something like this. I'm just smelling the coast of Japan here near citruses growing nearby, and I just think it's really, really cool. So I'm a big fan of this scent. Again, juicy, masculine, easy to wear, tells a story. What else do you want? It is once again my number 7 spring niche scent, Galeria Parfum by the Yuzu Grove. Thanks, Ashton. Again, I did pay for this one, guys. Anyway, moving on to the halfway point here at number 6. This one is by Kajal. It's Kajal Homme 2, and this is the new sequel to the previous flagship in Kajal Homme, the first one. Here you have a more aromatic and green opening, so very masculine off the top, and as it dissipates you get something sweeter too. In the heart you have a little bit of cinnamon, a little bit of clove, and believe it or not, a peach accord, which I think is really cool. So that altogether makes you want to keep smelling it off of your wrist or wherever you have it sprayed. I think this is the most unique part of the scent, if anything, but it's not technically the star of the show, because as the aromatics and as the sweetness continues to dry down, here you get a little bit more of that cedar, and I think that's where you quote unquote get the most, if not the rest of the scent. Now cedar in my mind is one of those woody notes that I would consider thinking of a fragrance with that in it to someone who's simply looking for like a woodier scent. So things like the Terre de Mes line come to mind, you know, very fresh and clean overall, but masculine more so because of that woody backbone. Just feels like something more of a rugged guy kind of would wear. And I kind of feel that way about this scent here, but again, it just feels a little bit more delicious with like peach and cinnamon and clove and whatnot. So if the thought of an aromatic, sweet, woody scent for you is interesting and you want to reach for it for perhaps any of your occasions, definitely check this out. Definitely one of those do anything, anywhere kind of scents, and if I have trouble trying to pick a scent for a specific occasion, this is just going to be one of those dumb reaches, as we call it in the fragrance community. So definitely consider checking this one out. Once again, it is my number 6 spring niche fragrance. It is Kajal Homme 2. Anyway, crossing the halfway point now into number 5. This one's one of my favorite scents on the list, period. This is La Tessa by Masque Milano. And the reason why I like this scent so much is because I'm such a, for lack of a better term, whore for iris. Here we have a buttery iris from Jump with a little bit of a champagne accord as well. So it feels bright, but kind of enveloping already, if that makes any sense. We're talking like a rooty dry down iris, but it feels upbeat, which is really unique in my mind. But then you get more of a floral kind of iris in the heart to kind of offset that, but still provide you with that powdery luxury vibe vibe. So for me, I'm a big fan of this already. A little bit of sandalwood in there as well, one of my other favorite notes. And yeah, I just really cannot complain with a scent. Like, I'll smell something like this and I might still have it on my shirt, and it just feels like the kind of scent I want to have in the morning. Make me want to have like champagne for breakfast or something like that. It's clean, it's powdery, it's luxurious. Yes, it's a little effeminate as far as in comparison to other irises out there and or just fragrance in general, but if you can get by that and or embrace that, I think you are in for a treat here. It's definitely a celebration of a scent, and hopefully one I get to see a lot more of come this spring. So definitely check this out if you have yet to yourself. Again, it's La Tessa by Mas Milano, my number 5 spring niche scent. Anyway, moving on to my number 4 spring niche fragrance, and perhaps the one that's going to be my most worn, at least that's what I'm thinking so far. This is Neroli Musk by Precious Liquid. And what can I say for him? I finally found my Neroli scent, which is really cool because I really haven't had one that I've stuck to for more than a year, like ever. And I feel like this is going to be that one. I just feel like Neroli scents are typically not interesting enough, at least the ones that I've checked out. So whether they're more cheaper and soapy offerings, or even ones like that at a more expensive level, like maybe a Neroli Portofino, as much as those are objectively pleasant, I still think I need a little more something something. Again, I don't mind something linear, which I am getting here with Neroli Musk, but that's a thing. At least I'm getting musk. At least I'm getting other facets. You have this nice verbena note as well, giving it a more citrusy, grassy kind of vibe up at the top. Again, the Neroli here is nice and juicy, yet very sharp, but somewhat tolerable at the same time. Just makes you want to sweat it out. And then when you are, and the heat is hitting you, like the sun rays and whatnot, you're emitting this nice, mossy, musky kind of dry down, and I just think it's really, really good. And thinking about it now, situationally, why it's specifically going to be one of my most worn scents throughout the season is that I think it's kind of what I want to smell like if I'm not trying to impress anyone. So just 100% a go with casual wear, although you can definitely dress this up by spraying more of it, or again, less if you don't want to. So again, for those reasons, I'm a big fan of the scent. This one is Neroli Musk by Precious Liquid, my number 4 spring niche fragrance. Anyway, moving on to my number 3 spring niche fragrance, and this is a longtime staple of the spring niche list. This one is Silver Mountain Water by Creed. And what can I say about Silver Mountain Water that I have never said before? Nothing, pretty much, but I will explain it again for the sake of this list. Silver Mountain Water just makes you feel super cool. You have this alpine vibe achieved by the black currant and the tea accord. It's just really nice. Makes you feel like you are really skiing through the mountains, you know, somewhere in the Swiss Alps. It's just a good time if you ask me. That being said, as much as I like it, sometimes I wish it was a little brisker into the mid. I feel like it kind of gets muddled to a certain extent with the black currant, and as a result it kind of feels inky because it's a little bit too deep of a fruitiness. But that's okay too, because objectively I think it smells good. I think this is one of the more big crowd pleasers I have, period. Not as far as it projects big, but somehow I still get compliments with it in general. And again, it's mainly due to that fruitiness. I think it is really nice in the air. And then when that dries down, you got a little bit more of a musky vibe, and this tends to just last hours off my skin. And again, just a Creed that I have zero performance issues with, so I'm always over the moon at that. But again, I just can't help but love that initial alpine vibe. I can't help but love the compliments that follow after. The performance is overall good. Again, there's really not a whole lot for me to say about this at this point, so definitely check it out if you've yet to as well. Once more, it's my number 3 spring niche fragrance. It is Creed's Silver Mountain Water. Anyway, moving on, here we go with my number 2 spring niche fragrance. We're almost at the number 1 spot. Don't worry, we'll get there. This one is Fleur de la Lita by Parfum du Cida. And I was debating putting this at number 1, believe it or not, for them, just because I'm in love with white florals. And if I had to pick a favorite one that I have in my wardrobe right now, I think this one would be it, period. The reason why is that I am a sucker for Lily, mainly. Lily is a nice, salty, spicy kind of floral. It also smells very wet. It smells like you'd be outside if you could be smelling it. It just doesn't smell like a perfumey kind of floral at all. So I tend to gravitate towards things that are photorealistic or hyper realistic, and I almost always feel like it's that when it comes to being in perfumery. And here I just think it's exquisite with other white floral notes. You also have some magnolia here. Magnolia has this wet sweetness that I think really complements the lily. And then for a slight creamy vibe, you have a little bit of jasmine up at the top too. Again, you're getting more of the prettier aspects of the jasmine, a little bit of creamy, not so much indolic or anything like that. You get this long-lasting floral vibe for the most part until it starts to get a little bit more muskier, mainly because of that ambrette seed. It's always a nice synthetic vegetal musk that I always like being paired with lily among other white floral notes. So yeah, I like how it's done here. I just think it's done with such grace. I don't think this stuff is stuffy whatsoever. So if you're one to potentially want to dive into floral fragrances and you've yet to, I would definitely say get into this one. Not saying blind buy this or anything, because I don't think it's blind buy safe, but I think it's worth a test for sure. And yeah, overall, I would say that if you would rather smell like you are outside in a garden, something like that, rather than smelling like a more traditional perfume, then I think this one's a lot of fun. And I'm proud to say that's my number 2. So once again, it is Fleur de Lalita by Parfum du Sida. Anyway, we finally arrived at the top spot. Here we go with the number 1 spring niche fragrance. This one is by Atelier Cologne, and it's Cafe Tuberosa. Guys, I'm telling you, Cafe Tuberosa slaps. I know it's kind of a fringe pick for my number 1 spot. You probably haven't seen it on this channel before. It's only been featured once, but I'm telling you, I'm really digging this accord between the coffee and the tuberose. I think it pairs so well together that I'm surprised that it hasn't been done before, at least on the mainstream level up until this point. The coffee here is nice and roasted, so you have this sweet espresso-like aroma, and I just think it smells really good in fragrance form. But who would have thought that that nice cozy aroma would have paired well with a floral? But again, it does. The tuberose here is not too indolic, it's not too stanky. Actually, it's none of those things at all. If anything, you're getting more of the creamier, sweeter aspects. It's almost like you got a thing of milk that smelled like tuberose to kind of cream your coffee with it, but like you poured too much of it into the coffee, because holy, do I get more tuberose than I do coffee. And I think that's a lot of people's gripe with this scent, because they are still seeking a coffee scent. I feel like coffee fragrance lovers out there are always going to be on the lookout for the perfect coffee scent, and I would say that this is not it. But if you can embrace interesting perfumery, interesting accords, despite how simple this one is at the same time, just because it is rather linear, then I definitely recommend this. But yeah, I too must say that I wish that there was coffee not just in the opening but in the base as well, just because when this stuff is on you 6-7 hours later, admittedly the creamier, sweeter tuberose is a little bit flat, if anything. But holy, first 2.5 hours of the scent, oh man, I will definitely respray the scent just to get that vibe. But since I'm going to stay inside a lot of the time now during the pandemic, I feel like I need to keep cozy as a result, and that's why this super cozy coffee-ish kind of floral is my number 1 spring niche fragrance for the year. So yeah, Cafe Tuberosa for the win. And I think that about does it for me, Forum. Thank you for the ongoing support as always. It's about that time in the video where I want to know from you, what are you rocking this spring? So tell me in the comment section below, and also tell me which fragrance here is your favorite and or the one you are looking forward to trying most. If you have yet to, again, please subscribe. It really helps this channel out, helps you out too, in case you want to get these videos to you ASAP. And if you want to get them even quicker to you, also hit that notification bell. But until then, I think that really about does it for me, and I guess I'll see you next time. So take care for now. Peace out. Bye. My name is Manny. Wear your fragrances.